We have had, for the first time since the founding of the United States of America, the Federal Bureau of Investigation has simply become an organized criminal enterprise, and it has launched a massive raid on the home of President Donald Trump in an attempt to throw the next presidential election. Here's what's happened. The FBI secretly coordinated with the FBI, with the Secret Service agents who protect the president, and they swarmed the Mar-a-Lago estate down in Florida of Donald Trump, and they had 30 FBI agents armed with machine guns go in. Look, the president, the guy is what, 76 years old, I think, and what do they expect? You need machine guns? What are you're going to put the president of the United States up against a wall and frisk him, for crying out loud? What a stupid clown act on the part of the FBI. But in any event, they went in, they spent hours, they frisked, they went through all of Mrs. Trump's personal wardrobe and examined her underwear and all of this stuff. And in the end, they got some really big stuff. They captured, listen to this, they seized, pursuant to this federal warrant, a personal letter that Barack Obama sent to President Trump when he was leaving the office. They got another personal letter from Kim Il-sung, the president of North Korea, thanking President Trump for his trip over there. Big stuff. I mean, this is earth-shaking stuff. Listen, they weren't after these notes that they got from other people. What they were after, this was a fishing expedition whose purpose was to discover information about January 6th, the so-called insurrection. How do you have an insurrection where not a single person, not a single one of the demonstrators who went into the Capitol was armed with anything? The only person in the entire, this was a 900,000 person demonstration in Washington, D.C. over the corrupt, stinking cheat that took place during the last. And in all of that, there was not a single person killed by any Trump demonstrator. The only person killed in that whole January 6th demonstration was Ashley Babbitt, a wonderful, joyous young lady who went out to exercise her First Amendment right to demonstrate, and she got a little overwhelmed. She was trespassing in the Capitol building, and she was gunned down in cold blood, just a cold-blooded homicide by one of Nancy Pelosi's officers, one of the Capitol Police inside the Capitol. And without any warning. She had no weapon. She was not taking any aggressive action. If that had happened to anybody else but a deep state Democrat, they'd have gone to prison for life. So anyway, keep in mind, this is not about National Archives documents. This is an attempt to come up with some evidence. You know, they've held this January 6th committee, this stacked committee where you have all these Democrats, and then you got Liz Cheney, who's for crying out loud a Democrat anyway, and they've come up empty-handed. They've conducted weeks and weeks of boring, stupid hearings, and have come up with absolutely nothing. And so this is a Hail Mary pass to use a pretext to raid the home of Donald Trump in hopes that they can find something that they can pin on him. This is a standard Democrat technique. The Democrats are very corrupt when it comes to elections. They've thrown national elections. They won the John F. Kennedy presidential election through fraud. They won the Joe Biden election through. That's their MO. Well, in any event, there was a warrant that was issued to allow the FBI to get into Mar-a-Lago. I cannot imagine a warrant that was for a search to enter the premises of a president of the United States being approved by anybody short of the Attorney General with the explicit approval of President Biden. Frankly, if I were the president of the United States, let's say I were President Biden, and somebody raided the home of a former president, I would be apoplectic if nobody had told me. And I'm sure nobody considered doing a raid on President Trump's personal residence without explicit approval from President Biden. So anyway, the good news, Republicans are fairly united in their outrage over this. Now, Mitch McConnell, who he really ought to be part of the Democrat caucus, he just kind of whimped and, well, okay, no big thing. The guy is a slime ball. Mitch McConnell is one of the most corrupt politicians in the world. And so he was kind of good to go with it. But even Kevin McCarthy, who is certainly a part of the deep state, certainly funding candidates to go head to head against all of Trump's selections for Congress. But even McCarthy comes out and he expressed some outrage. He's a very politically astute individual. And he says, well, there's going to be payback, and that Merrick Garland, our crooked attorney general, that he's got to mark his calendar because there are going to be hearings and that kind of thing. But anyway, keep in mind, this is a fishing expedition. Every president that we have ever had, going back to George Washington, has kept certain personal documents that they got during the White House. And honestly, if you look at the Constitution, we have a separation of powers: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches. Even though Congress has made has passed legislation on how to handle White House documents, the fact is that certain documents are held by the president, and it's not at all clear to me that there is constitutional authority for Congress to intervene in the executive branch to the extent of saying, okay, the president within his own personal office has to handle documents in a certain way. I don't think that is constitutional. And look at some of the things that happened. Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, she was not at that level, but she was Secretary of State. She was allowed to defy a lawful subpoena and acid wash 32,000 sensitive emails. Apparently, many of those were top secret, and she just decided, okay, you're not getting this stuff on me, and she got rid of it. It's amazing. Yeah, what about Hunter? The FBI hasn't gone and conducted any raid on Hunter, and they certainly have sufficient probable cause to do it, but they're not going to touch Hunter Biden. So we're always attacking other countries. We're talking about, oh, we're attacking, we're invading your country because we're defending values. What are these? What values do we have left in this country? Sodomy, we fly the rainbow sodomy flag. How about corrupt, raw corrupt power? We got to get back to traditional American values so that when people think about the United States, they think of something other than the FBI raiding political opponents for personal gain. But I'm going to tell you, the Democrats fear this Republican surge. They know that their polling is dismal. I mean, it's just really dismal. And so here's a Hail Mary pass to throw the next presidential election and to throw the midterm elections. I think it's backfiring. I don't think it's going to work. The next Republican president, who I expect we're going to have in 2024, needs to purge the FBI. They probably need to defund it to a substantial, cut the funding of the FBI in half, and then go through all of the political appointees and just throw the whole bunch of these thugs out. I mean, the FBI is an organized criminal enterprise, and it's very dangerous to the future of our country. Keep in mind, remember back, it's been about a year ago, the National School Boards Association contrived this deal with the Attorney General's office where, hey, we'll send this letter to you, and then you crack down on the parents who are protesting because they're causing us a lot of problems. Here in Loudoun County, I sparked the tremendous uproar that got national and international attention when I took out the school board, and I accused them of their racism and their sexual perversion. And so then the National School Boards Association conspired with the Department of Justice. And the next thing, we had FBI helicopters flying over school board meetings at low altitudes in order to intimidate parents from going to speak at school board meetings and to stop them from protesting against racist, Marxist, critical race theory and the sexual grooming of children by pedophiles and their sympathizers in the public school system. So this is where we stand now. It's kind of interesting, the people who the media looks to immediately to say, okay, what do the Republicans think? Okay, they contacted, of course, Kevin McCarthy. He's the House Minority Leader. Okay, Mitch McConnell. He had nothing to say. He's kind of out of it. Just tallying up his bank account. But look at the ones that interesting. They contacted Marjorie Taylor Greene. Why? Because she's really become kind of a moral and ethical embodiment of the American people. And they looked to her. What do you think? She said, look, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, member of Congress. She said the raid was rogue behavior typical of the worst in communist countries. She's talking about under Stalin, under Lenin. It's interesting to look at the federal magistrate who issued this warrant. He wasn't just your normal magistrate. He was an Obama appointee, and not just any Obama appointee, because this federal magistrate appointed by Obama had spent years representing Jeffrey Epstein pedophilia clients who were tied up in this business with Jeffrey Epstein. You recall Jeffrey Epstein ran this fantasy island where they would fly powerful political figures from all over the world, and they would get them in compromising positions. They'd line them up with underage girls, take pictures of them in bed, naked, different things. And then when the whole thing finally broke, when the story broke and they couldn't contain it anymore, Epstein just knew too much, and they rubbed him out while he was in federal custody. He hanged himself, a man who was terrified that somebody was going to kill him, decided to kill himself to prevent it from happening. Give me a break. So he was rubbed out, and that way they were able to continue to blackmail all of these people, because the courts just sort of concealed all the information against him. Such corruption in our government. It is amazing. We've got to get a new government. We've got to get new people. And if Trump takes over, he must conduct a purge of all of these federal agencies, and he's got to replace people. If he doesn't do that, then it's all for naught.